Welcome, writers, game masters, and creatives to the World Builders Tavern. Today we are talking about the graphic novel Nimona by ND Stevenson. So if you haven't read this, be aware that there will be spoilers coming up ahead. I'm Emma, your friendly barkeep, along with Allison.
Hi.
And Christiana.
Hello.
And we are so happy to have you here today. Cheers!
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 Nimona is a fantasy graphic novel by ND Stevenson, an American cartoonist. The story follows Nimona, a shapeshifter, who joins the villain, Ballister Blackheart, in his plans to destroy the over-controlling Institute. Blackheart tries to operate under his code of ethics, while Nimona has no problem with killing. The setting mixes magic and technology, and the art style is whimsical and gorgeous. Let's dive right into it. But
Yay.
Allison and Christiana, what did you think of this? Allison, you had read this before, right?
This was my pick. It was really fun to read it again because I often don't remember things very well the first time I read them. And so I knew that I had loved it, but I couldn't remember exactly what happened. So it was really fun to go back and be like, oh yeah, this is why I like this book so much.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what you two thought.
I think we need to stop picking things to cover on the podcast that are going to make me cry. It's so sad. And I was like, why do we keep doing this to ourselves? Why are we picking the saddest things? But I really
they're
loved
so
it.
good.
Yeah, that's it. I
Yeah,
loved it. And I love the art style too. I'm
Yes.
obsessed with that art style.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I think it's divided into little chapters of a few pages each, and after the first, I think it was the first or second chapter already, I was like, okay, I love this. I want to keep going, which is exactly what you want to do with the beginning of your book.
Exactly. Yeah, I loved the art style, and I really liked the typeface. There's a comic book word for that. What's the graphic novel word? The
Font?
Lettering.
Oh, okay.
That's the one. It looks like it's handwritten.
It does.
I'm not sure if it actually is. I think it might be. And so that I found that really neat. That's a lot of work.
Yes.
That is, yeah.
And I feel like that's not, I don't know a ton about graphic novel creation, but I know that that's not like the norm to hand letter, and I think it's kind of a no-no probably, like you usually use fonts and stuff like that, but I don't
know if it's a no-no, but I think it's not done that often because it is a ton of work.
Yeah.
Because if you find a typo and stuff, then you can't just go in and erase it and type it back in. You have to actually rewrite it.
Yeah. Ton of work. But yeah, it really works, especially with the art style. It works
perfect. Really well. Yeah.
Is there anything else that we want to talk about with the art style in terms of world building?
I like the contrast of how cutesy it was sometimes during scenes of intense violence. I'm like, look at Nimona as a cute little rhinoceros breaking down a wall. You know what I mean? It was that
and
contrast.
Just killing a ton of Institute soldiers.
Yeah, exactly.
And not
I'm like,
caring about it.
Look at the fuzzy little bear eating people. That kind of contrast I thought was really fun and interesting. But also the fact that it leaned quite hard into that kind of typical cartoonish, strange proportions. It wasn't some graphic novels you'll see, and they are I don't want to they're still cartoonish, but everything is proportionally kind of correct.
Mm-hmm.
This one plays with proportions a lot, and I really like that. It kind of creates a sense of wonder and fantasy. You kind of know you're in a different world because everything is slightly skewed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a more cartoony art style rather than a gritty, realistic art style, and that really worked for the story, because if you'd had a really gritty, realistic art style, it just wouldn't have gone with the story.
Yeah, this story is weirdly funny and serious at the same time, and you can't really have that juxtaposition with a serious art style. I think the art style really contributes to that.
So I had said after the first chapter I was hooked, and for some reason this is so dumb, but one of the things that I loved was right at the beginning, Nimona is showing Ballister Blackheart her shape-shifting abilities, and she turns into a shark,
I
And
was, oh my god, I knew you were gonna say that. I was thinking the exact same scene.
and
Okay,
the shark
sorry.
has boobs because she
Yes.
does. And I'm just, for some reason, just like the visual of a shark with boobs is just like, this is so funny. It shows her character. It just was like,
Yep.
and you can't do, I mean, you maybe could do that with a gritty art style, but it just wouldn't really have landed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
wouldn't have been the same.
so definitely for world building, like if you're gonna do something visually, having a visual style that matches the tone of your story, I think is super important.
Yeah.
One of the other things I loved about this story is the disability wrap.
Mm-hmm.
So good. There are two ways of handling disability in a fantasy novel, and one is to kind of create a society where people having problems with disability doesn't exist. Like, we have a better society where they're just equal, and that's not a power imbalance. And then there's, you can reflect our world a little more in your fantasy society, and there is a power imbalance. And this novel reflects our world in that disability obviously isn't accepted because Blackheart gets shoved out of the Institute when he loses his arm. He's no longer a knight or whatever. I can't remember if knight is the term.
Yeah, it was night.
And so, villains having a disability is a really common trope, particularly like physical disabilities that make them look eviler or that make them look scarier. And it's not the greatest trope just because it's so common and it really like contributes to villainizing people with disability. And so this story plays with that concept really well because Blackheart isn't actually a villain. He just looks like one, and the Institute are the real villains in the story. And I just love how the novel dealt with that.
Well, and also the fact that his disability is not what makes him villainous, in the ways that he's perceived as a villain, but it's the treatment of that disability, which does that. Like, you know, he could have been a knight, no problem. There's no reason that he couldn't have been, but they decided that now he wasn't qualified, and it was that treatment of him that has now pushed him to the outskirts where he has to take these kind of what are seen as villainous measures to try and equalize things, which I think is also an important distinction. And yeah, it's definitely tricky and probably generally not advised to have your villain be, you know, disabled or be the only character with a disability.
I think it's okay if your villain is disabled. It's just a matter of how you handle it, and there needs to be other disabled characters than just your villain. And your villain doesn't need, it shouldn't make the villain like scary. Like a really good example is how Star Wars treats Luke and Darth Vader differently. So like when Darth Vader is disabled, he gets this giant black suit and breathes funny, and when Luke is disabled, he gets this very human looking hand that you can't really tell is different from his regular hand. And I think that's a really great commentary on kind of how villains have been treated. And I say this as an avid Star Wars fan. But that doesn't mean they did everything perfect. And so Nimona kind of plays with that concept, which is really fun.
Yeah. And I like the fact that, so what you were touching on, Allison, we're saying like your options are kind of like society has moved past having barriers and disabilities aren't really a thing, right? Because disabilities only exist because society allows it, right? Like if everything was always accessible, no one would realistically be considered disabled, right? If every space was truly accessible to them, right? And I think that it makes the Institute even more evil that they live in this world with all of this magic and all of this technology, and they could remove all of these barriers. It's not even like well, there's only so much physically we can do. It's like no, we could do all of it, but we're choosing not to. Instead, we're going to kick you out. You know what I mean? That to me, I was like, oh, you evil Institute.
Yes. I also loved the romance between Blackheart and what's the hero's name?
Gil
something.
Golden Lion.
There we go. I was like,
Gold
something.
Something flourishy and obviously good character. I thought that was lovely. They obviously had enemies to lovers trope.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's kind of what this is, sort of like they were lovers before.
Yeah.
And then they're enemies, and then they kind
and
of
then
become
maybe
friends
lovers
again.
again. Yeah.
Lovers to
Yeah,
enemies to
and then
friends
I
to
just love
lovers.
that. Yeah.
My one slight critique of that is, as a queer person, I'm so sick of, like, a lot of people call it queer baiting. I don't think that's necessarily what's happening here. But the
Mm,
concept of, like, hinting at the idea that your character is gay, but never actually confirming it. Because then gay
right.
people,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
so my one little thing with it was, like, in the epilogue, I was like,
Mm.
kiss each other, confirm it
Yeah.
in some way. I need confirmation. Like,
Yes. Yeah. Be
that's my
more.
one little thing. If you're
Did
gonna,
they kiss in the end or no?
No, they hold
No.
hands.
No, okay.
Which
Yeah.
is
Yeah, it was.
well, or they have their arms around each other, so it's a little bit
Yeah.
more, but like it's still
It could have been more overt. I mean, I do feel like it was pretty obvious, but
I
I
feel like
also
so
agree
too,
with
but
Christiana
yeah.
that it could have been more.
yeah,
I
it's
think-
still in
I
that
think
like
if you're gonna have queer characters, like, don't be afraid to say the word queer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or like be like,
Yeah.
I am gay. I am in love with a man. And then like I don't care if you beat me over the head with it. I'm still gonna be really pumped to see my community represented, right?
yes. Yeah, and oftentimes that's kind of done to get it past censors or you know, like I'm thinking
Yeah.
of the sort of, you know, the in Legend of Korra at the very end where the two female love interests kind of, you know, hold hands and turn towards each other but don't quite kiss, and it's like that's the only way that they were allowed to get it aired. So
Oh, and
Yeah.
people complained
yeah,
about
oh yeah,
that
people were
and
still very
really
upset
mad.
about
And
it.
it's like,
So
Come on, people.
yeah, it's also of that, like, we're still in that, unfortunately, society
Yeah.
still seems to be in that transitional place where it's like we want more
Yeah.
representation, but a lot of people who control the strings of what's allowed to get made get to dictate how much of that is allowed to be seen. So, but
I do think it's getting better.
Yes.
Like I see that all the time
Yeah.
on like literary agents' wish list. This was published in 2015.
Yeah, that's kind of, this
So
probably would have been
maybe on the
fairly
cusp
solid
of that
representation
change.
in 2015 kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
yeah, but definitely if and for sure if, you know, if there is none, like if you're self-publishing, if it's something where you are in control, like definitely, you know, don't be
Yeah.
afraid to say
Don't be
gay.
afraid to show it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to say
I'm
gay.
just
You can
looking at the front and I see it says typography by Aaron Fitzsimmons, and now I'm wondering if that is they use the word typography, so maybe it is just a font.
It could be. It
That's
could be
cool.
also, you know, how you do like you change your handwriting into a font, so it could be
Yep.
that it
Oh,
was
yeah.
handwritten and then they made it
Either way, anyway.
great.
that's
But anyway,
aside,
a great choice of font to go
Yes.
whatever the way it was done.
Yes. Something else I loved about Nimona was the villain versus the hero and who's really the villain. I think it's neat to think about what actually makes somebody a villain, because it's obviously not calling themselves one, because
Yeah.
Blackheart is obviously the hero, and the Institute are kind of the evil ones, but they appear as good to the public, and the public is really outraged when they find out that the Institute has been doing all this terrible stuff. But I'm curious what you guys think about Nimona. Do you think she's a villain?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I think a lot of the time, I guess it's kind of like morally gray characters, right? They sometimes do good things, they sometimes do bad things, but what makes a
Yeah.
protagonist a hero in my mind when I'm consuming media is what their end goal is. Like I'm okay with a hero killing a bunch of people if it means liberating society. And I don't care if a villain is super helpful and kind if their goal is to oppress a group of people. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes them evil. It's not because they're a vegetarian and they have 50 pet cats. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of that end goal, but I feel like I'm not 100% certain what Nimona's end goal was here.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, because she seems very mad. She's very angry
Yeah.
about society and unfairness. Like, well, this isn't okay. Look at the Institute. They're doing all these horrible things. But then she's also like, you need to rule, Blackheart. Like, let's take over the world
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure. I don't know if I would call her a hero or a villain. It's hard to say.
I feel like her character is um just very immature, which I think is
Yeah.
contrasted.
Yeah.
Like and I think one of the sad things is that, she and Blackheart do part ways at the end. Which
Mm-hmm.
is tragic not only because we like the two characters together, but also because now I kind of wonder how Nimona's story is going to go without having that sort
Yeah.
of more mature influence. Because I could see her becoming a complete supervillain, if she gives it, if
Yep.
she, nurtures that part of herself. But she could also, learn compassion and empathy and grace and that sort of thing if given the opportunity. So I think we're kind of seeing the contrast
Yeah.
of the mature villain, quote unquote, the mature person fighting for justice, which is Blackheart, and then sort of the immature person doing that, which is Nimona.
Yeah. And it kind of comes from their motivations too, right? Like Blackheart is doing this because he sees injustice. He has experienced injustice and he wants to fix that. Nimona is doing
I
it
mean,
because
yeah.
she's been wronged and she's pissed about it. You know what I mean? Like there's like a
Mm,
Yes.
different kind of there's a different even if they have the same goal to bring down the institution, they're coming at it from very, very different perspectives. One is about
mm-hmm,
justice, one is about revenge. And those are two
mm-hmm,
very different that can cause you to act in very different ways.
mm-hmm.
It's interesting that their backstories are a bit similar, though. Like, they've both
Yeah.
been
Yep,
mistreated badly
yep,
and they've responded to it
mm-hmm,
differently, which is a really great way to write your characters,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah, and it's two characters responding to the world in different ways. Like they've both kind of been mistreated for the same reason, which is you're
Mm-hmm.
different, we're afraid of you, and therefore we're going to treat you poorly, is kind of what's been set up as the
Mm-hmm.
society in this world.
Yeah.
And it's so both of those characters interacting with that in different ways, which is really what you want your world building to do, is give your characters things to interact with, and they do a great job of that
Yeah.
in this.
I think Blackheart, I'm thinking about one specific scene. And so I'm thinking Blackheart wants to bring down the institution to bring justice. Nimona wants to bring down the institution because she doesn't want to get hurt again.
Hmm.
And why she
Mm.
turns and attacks Blackheart in the end is because she said there's only one person left who could hurt me. And I don't think she meant that in a I'm scared you're going to shoot me way. I think she meant that in a I'm scared you're going to leave me way,
Yep. Yeah,
like
she's
her parents
afraid.
did. And she's afraid.
Yep.
So she's like scared and lashing out.
Yeah.
And those are always super, super interesting characters to me
Yeah.
because I think we've all been there before. We've all
Yep.
been a teenager, right? Like when you're frustrated with something happening at school and so you just like take it out on your safe person, so you're
Yep.
just like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to listen to you, mom, and it's not actually about anything your mom said, it's about whatever happened at school that day kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's like that's such a relatable frustration.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very childlike response, and yet we do this all the time as
Yep.
adults.
Yeah.
Like, we make decisions out of fear.
Yep.
So I think it works
Yeah.
both ways.
And I think we see that Blackheart wants to make it so nobody is hurt, and Nimona is just focused on her not being hurt. Like she's fine
Yeah.
being in power
Oh
and
yeah.
hurting other people as long as she's okay.
Yep.
And that's also one of the kind of differences between their philosophies, I think. I do like the kind of painting her as morally gray, because you kind of do have these three sort of sides. You have the bad guy who seems like a good guy, you have the good guy who seems like a bad guy, and then you have the person who is truly bad and good mixed together, which is a very kind of cool way to set up your character
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah, so we haven't really mentioned Golden Lion?
Yeah.
Golden Lion, who is sort of the third facet of this reaction to injustice.
Mm-hmm.
He has sort of been on the peripheral of receiving injustice in that his boyfriend, he saw his boyfriend mistreated, but hasn't really been on the end of it himself until the Institute's he starts to get a little whiff of the Institute being willing to throw him away. in this story when he gets like relegated to just guarding something at some point because they don't trust him to deal with black art anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so he starts to be like, oh, now it's affecting me.
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe I need to think a little bit more about how they treated Blackheart.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that wasn't fair.
Mm-hmm.
Because I assume up to this point he's been thinking Blackheart kind of got what he deserved and became a villain, and it was his choice to do that. And he's evil and I'm good, so that's just the way it is. And he actually has to like confront that misconception in this novel.
Mm-hmm. I think he's also a good example of like another kind of trope, I guess, I like to see in movies is when you have someone who's just kind of going along with orders for a long time until they get a really bad order, and then it caught and they start to push back and they say, no, I'm not going to do that, but then they have to reflect and live with the fact that they've been doing that this whole time, and that can really facilitate a lot of character growth, right? Where, oh, when it's someone I don't know, I'll just do it, whatever, it's not my fault, I was just told to do it. And then when it's someone they know, they start realizing, oh man, I've done this to a whole lot of people, right?
Yep. That isn't that truly kind of like the power of speculative fiction, to get kind of more meta for a second, but that just we get to see things through a personal lens, because you're not going to experience every injustice yourself, but it's through, fiction that we get to experience those things and become more empathetic people, which is amazing. So everybody read more fiction and watch more TV. It'll make you a better person.
One of my I was just thinking when Christiana was talking, oh, that's like one of my favorite character arcs from the show The Dragon Prince. The character Soren is that sort of goes along with his father's orders until his father asks him to kill some innocent people, and then he's like, what? And then his arc goes off the rails. And so I really like that character development.
I feel like you see it in Star Wars a lot too, like multiple times with in the Clone Wars series.
Yeah.
Kind of like that's like kind of Ahsoka's arc at one point. A little bit.
So good. Yeah, well, I mean, the reason she leaves the Jedi is kind of she's been disenfranchised by what they're trying to do,
exactly.
or what they say they're doing and what they're actually doing.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, the Jedi kind of seem a lot like the Institute in this book, which is a cool thing for me to say as a big giant fan of Star Wars. But it is a good example of like everyone holds up the Jedi as like these are the greatest people in the world. They're the peacekeepers of our universe. But it's like they go around and kidnap children and take them from their parents and force them to fight each other for 18 years. Like that's so messed up.
And they get involved in a war, which peacekeepers should not be leading armies in a war. Yeah.
One other aspect of the world building that I really loved in this was the mix of technology and magic.
Yes.
And even like technology and time period, because it kind of seems to be set in that sort of traditional medieval fantasy, but then you've also got guns and computer screens and so it's not even like it's steampunk, but it truly is just a mixture of like modern or even like futuristic technology with a medieval setting and with magic, and I loved that. I thought it worked really well for me. What did you guys think?
I adored it too. I think science fantasy is difficult because it's hard to find that balance, and Noelle Stevenson did a really good job. And a lot of it is just through pictures too. Like a lot of it, that's all it is. The world building is just there. It doesn't really have I don't know. It was just meshed together so seamlessly. I didn't really think about it until you mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, that was really cool.
I think I'm trying to think in my head of another story that has time periods and technology and magic and everything all mixed up like this, and I can't think of one off the top of my head.
The Final Fantasy franchise, the
Okay.
video game franchise, does a really good job
Yeah.
of that too.
Okay.
Also,
a lot of the games are science fantasy.
And kind of
What-
Star Wars, like to bring it back there again, they
Yeah.
also kind of do that.
A little bit, but
Sort of.
that's so not our world. I think why this one is so
Yeah.
interesting
That's
is because
true.
it's
Yeah.
still kind of obviously our world.
Yeah.
And
But why
Star
I
Wars
think
is very obviously like futuristic, whereas this is very obviously like medieval.
Yeah.
I don't know that
Well,
Star Trek
Wars
is obviously futuristic.
retro,
Like some of the planets are
retro
very
futuristic. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's 80s futuristic.
Yeah.
Which is like a whole other thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the book we're actually talking about.
Yes. I think why this worked so well is because of the format of a graphic novel. Because you just have to see a pretty image of Blackheart typing on a computer and you go, okay, he's using a computer.
Yeah.
Whereas if this was like a movie, you'd be like, wait a second. Why does that keyboard look like that? Why does that screen look like that? How did they have this? Where are the power outlets? I don't see any power outlets in this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you,
I mean, I think it could work in a movie, and
I think it could.
it has. I'm sure
it
there
would
are
just be.
science fantasy.
I think it would just be harder.
Yes.
Whereas in a graphic
Yeah.
novel, you're kind of, since you're only seeing little snapshots of it, and it moves so fast, and dialogue and stuff tends to move so fast in graphic novels, you don't have like as much time to start picking it apart, being like, wait a second, how would that
Yeah.
work, right?
You're staring at the scene for 10 seconds instead of like 5 minutes, and then
Yeah.
Exactly.
also I was also thinking of that because I was like, this would be really hard to do in a novel. Like if you were writing the knight walked into the room and a laser shot at him, like it would just be it would be, again, you can pretty much do anything. I'm sure people have pulled it off, but it would be a lot harder again. And I think it's because of the art style. Like again, the art style is already cartoony, where we know we're going to stretch kind of the bounds of what is realistic. Like in Looney Tunes, somebody runs off a cliff and then hovers in air for 30 seconds and then falls. And you don't blink an eye because that's just the rules of cartoons, which I think also works in this story.
Yeah.
I love that Blackheart just pulls out this big ass gun for one of their and just like blows up this wall of this bank that they're robbing.
Yeah.
It's just
where were you keeping
I
that?
loved I loved the little sound effect for it too. It was like choom. And I was like, that's exactly how I would imagine that gun sounding in my head. That was like such a, instead of like pew or whatever. I'm glad that they went with choom.
I love the weird words you can put in graphic novels. They're
I
so
know.
much fun. So good.
I will interject for a second just to do a correction for earlier. I think we were saying that he was Sir Golden Lion. It's Sir Golden Loin.
Oh, Sir Golden Loin. That's even better.
Yeah.
That's
Right, because he has the very prominent gold cod piece that he always wears.
Oh yeah, that people are like, what is that really
It
hiding?
can't be that big.
Who does he think he is? That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So this graphic novel really is a masterclass in, I think, using your format your what word am I looking for? Not genre. Is format the right
Yeah,
medium?
format. Yeah, format.
Using your format to like the best of its ability. Like this truly does graphic novels so well. And this is a story that, as we've said multiple times, would not really work in any other format, which I think is a great way to kind of, if you have a story you want to tell and you're not sure how you want to tell it, just think about like, what is the best way to showcase, which way can you not, what format, what format is the best, and like, can you tell the story in another format, or which one is really going to bring out the best?
Oh man, if they made Nimona into a cartoon, that would be
I
so
would
good.
watch that
I would watch that.
in a heartbeat.
Okay. This is probably a good time to go into our proprietor's pick.
Yay!
And man, I make my life difficult.
What is like
I
this
found
book, Allison?
I know. I really gave myself some work by being like, I'm gonna showcase upcoming books that are like this, and there's just nothing like Nimona, you guys. It's really unique.
Our proprietor's pick is just reading Nimona again.
Yeah, just read it again.
Read it.
I
3
did pick a
times.
novel. So my favorite things about Nimona were the disability rep and the themes of friendship. So I keyed in on those for this recommendation. If you like those, you might also like The Tea Dragon Society by Kay O'Neill. And I'm cheating because this was not published this year. The first book, it was published in 2017, and then it's got 3 novels, and I read them all, and they're wonderful.
Yay.
So I actually have read these, and I'm recommending them. After discovering a lost tea dragon in the marketplace, Greta learns about the dying art form of tea dragon caretaking from the kind tea shop owners, Ezekiel and Eric. As she befriends them and their shy ward, Minette, Greta sees how the craft enriches their lives, and eventually her own.
Person finds a magical creature and has to learn how to take care of it is one of my favorite
So
tropes.
good.
It's so warm and fuzzy.
Just
I love
gonna
it.
say. I want to find a dragon.
The tea dragons are adorable,
Aww.
you guys. They're so cute. And they make, like, they grow leaves that you can then make into tea.
I want one.
That's so cute.
So I will say this is more like slice of life. Like, it's slower. It's not as, like, action-packed as Nimona is. It's a very different feel. But the disability rep is amazing. It's got a character with a wheelchair and one with anxiety and just all sorts of things. And it's just sort of like a really calming, sort of easy story that you might expect from something called the Tea Dragon Society.
Yeah.
So, highly recommended.
What's the target age of this series?
I feel like it's adults.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. I think teens would enjoy it. I don't know if it would be directed at kids.
Okay.
I mean, a kid could read it, but I feel like I was its target audience.
Okay. So YA/A.
Yeah.
Nice. I definitely want to read that. You make my to read list so much longer, Allison. It's a problem.
Yeah,
Yay.
I was just
Mission
gonna say,
accomplished.
Every episode, I'm like, add it to the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is so long too. Because, like, I'm adding these to mine as well, because I haven't read most of these, because mostly I do books that are coming up or have just been published, so I'm also like, I have to read this now.
There's a very good chance that some of these will be covered in future seasons of podcasting once
Yes.
we've all read and loved them. So,
Yep.
keep listening, people. And with that, I think we're going to do last call and pose our concluding questions or thoughts that all you world builders should consider when building your worlds. Allison, start us off here.
I will hone in on if you're going to do disability rep in your novel, because I'm really passionate about that. So I will say, if you have a villain with a disability, make sure that the disability isn't there just for fear factor, or just to make them look scarier, or for them to, the heroes to be more afraid of them, that they just have a disability and are living with it like any other character, and make sure that there are other characters with disabilities as well as your villain.
I would say also think about mixing elements in your world. So again, one of the things I really liked about Nimona was the mix of magic and tech and futuristic stuff. So I would say think about pieces from different Earth historical time periods you can weave together, elements of both magic and technology you can have in your story. You know, the world is yours to make up. That's the whole fun of world building. So you can be as fanciful as you like, and you aren't beholden to historical or scientific accuracy. So have fun with it.
Have a giant gun that can blow up a wall.
Yeah.
Every story
And
should
then
have
ride
a
out
giant
on a dragon.
gun that-
Yeah.
I think my advice would be that humor is really hard to do well. It is so hard to do humor right, because everyone has a different sense of humor, right? So there's a tendency to kind of avoid it sometimes, I think, or only have like a little quip here and there. And I get it. It's hard to do. But sometimes it is exactly what your story needs. Like, don't be afraid to be silly and have fun and make jokes and have a shark with boobs in your story. Like, sometimes that's exactly what it needs.
And if you include a giant gun and a shark with boobs, your story will
Yeah,
be
there you
hit.
go.
We guarantee it.
That's actually how we rank the things we cover in this podcast.
Yeah,
Did it have a
moving
giant
forward.
gun? Did it have
We'll
a
give it
shark?
Doesn't
score
have a
on
shark
the
with
big
boobs.
gun and shark with boobs list. Well, that was great. I loved talking about this graphic novel. Listeners, you should definitely check it out. And if you do, if you read it, if you have any thoughts about the story or the world building, definitely send us a tweet or an email. All of our contact information is in the show notes.
Follow us on social media, support us on Patreon.
And for now, that's closing time. Thank you so much for joining us at the tavern. We hope to serve you here again soon. Now scram.
Get out of here.
Bye.